Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Maleah, and I love to just talk about books, give you book recommendations, and also share a little bit of my life as a mom. But for today, we're gonna be doing my book recommendations video. I saw this book tag going around like last year. I mean, I think everyone does it at some point in their channel, so I'm not going to say that I'm late on a trend per se, but it's definitely time. I have all the questions on my phone. I pick a book, tell you like my answer to the questions, why I think you should or shouldn't read the book, and yeah, that's what we're doing today. Okay, so the first question is a book you tell people is your favorite. Oh my gosh, I actually have a lot of these. I'm gonna go with Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I always recommend this all over my channel, all over my bookstagram. These books and this series are just so good, and this is the first one. It's probably the first book in a series I ever read, and it's just had me a chokehold ever since. My son is like kicking and it's shaking the table. I'm gonna move him. You're my most priceless thing, but my camera, she's expensive. Okay. Anyway, Twisted Love is a romance, of course, as you can tell, but it's like a morally gray, grumpy sunshine trope. It's about Alex and Ava. It's also a brother's best friend. I almost always get those mixed up because they're both B's. But Alex is asked by Ava's older brother, Josh, if he can watch out for her while Josh is away for like work and things like that. And they're all like in their young adulthood. He's just an overprotective brother, and it is just... it's too good. It's too good. If you're into, I mean, it's kind of acquired taste if you're into like guys who are just very, I mean, he was just questionable. But I don't mind that, and I feel like a lot of like people that I talk to, they also don't mind that, so I recommend this. Eventually they start falling in love. It's kind of a slow burn, and when they do, it's like he will just stop the world for her. There's a part where Ava is trying to learn how to swim, and Alex is like, if you don't get a hold of this, I would drain all the oceans, all the lakes, all the pools in the whole world, so you would never have to be triggered or worried about water, because there's a whole thing that goes on with like water and her that you learn about in the book. And I just thought like, oh, he's too good. A book that is my guilty pleasure, I want to say they're like Coho books, to be honest. So yes, my books that are my guilty pleasure are definitely Coho books. They're kind of just all over the place. They don't really have like, I don't know, they don't have a plot that I've ever seen before in my whole life. And it's just, I don't know, I feel like it's starting to grow into something where it's like, do you really read? If you read Coho, which is like so irrelevant, read what you like to read. But it definitely is like my guilty pleasure. If I'm in a book slump or whatever, I will definitely pick up one of her books, because her plots are just all over the place. The story, you're just like, what is going to happen next, no matter what book it is. This is like definitely more of like a, has a sci-fi little like twist in it, but she also has Verity, which is like her thriller novel, and then all the rest are obviously like more in the romance genre. But they're all not what they seem like too. They have some other meaning, some other storyline, some other whatever, and they just keep me on the hook. So she's definitely one of my guilty pleasure authors for sure. A book that everyone loved but you didn't. So I just talked about beach read in my last video, but for this one I'm going to bring up Malibu Rising. I just could not get with this book. I don't know what it was. It was just, I don't know, I feel like it was just maybe not what I was looking for at the time, but I've picked it up multiple times and it just hasn't really sunk in with me. This is a dual timeline. One timeline is about their mother and father, and then one is about 4 siblings in their adult years. They're playing their normal like annual biggest party of the year for all of their guests, and they have secrets that are coming out slowly throughout the book that eventually boil over at said party. It's staged in 1983. I wanted to read this too because it's their end of summer party, and I just thought it would just be all the perfect vibes, but unfortunately for me, it wasn't. I think it's just the story. It just wasn't something that I'm into. I'm not a big like written in a different era type of person, so I think that might have been what the root of it was. A book I read the fastest, oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna say, we're gonna take it all the way back. My first ever book I read when I started reading was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I read this in one day. It literally overtook me. I was just like, I can't think about doing anything else except getting to the next chapter of this book. I really loved this. I loved, like I said, she always has some other thing going on in her books, and for this one, this was a big like domestic violence, just I don't know, it was just so perfectly written to spread awareness about that, and it was perfectly written to talk about the topic where it wasn't like as romanticizing it either. I really enjoyed it, and I really connected with Lily and her mom in this book. Lily grew up seeing her mom and her dad have a very abusive relationship, and so now when she's in adulthood and she's going into her first relationship, you're kind of seeing how those wounds kind of keep coming up, and you know, see how, I don't know, I feel like when you know someone, which this is kind of Lily's thing too, when you know someone who's in a domestic abuse relationship, you just wonder why they don't leave. You wonder how that's happening, how they put up with that, all those things. And I think in the story, that's what really got me, is that we got to see Lily kind of come to grips with that and understand. And it was just a beautiful book. I recommend everyone to read it. I'm not too excited about the movie, not gonna lie to anybody. I don't like film adaptations of books. This is the first book I ever read, and I definitely read it the fastest. No other book has ever come close to it. A book that deserves more hype. Okay. So I am still reading this series. This is the first one I read, obviously, because it's annotated like crazy. I stopped trying to like even line these up to look even like I didn't just throw them all in here, but I did, because that's how it was, like I was just eating it up and didn't have time to make these look cute. But I loved this book. I love the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. This is her 4th book in the series, I think. Yes, she has a new one that's about to come out. It's called Crossed, but these are all shattered, is it shattered fairy tales? Broken, there's some type of word I'm trying to think of. Fractured, yes, fractured fairy tales. So this one was about Jafar. I really like Aladdin, so I feel like this is why this book spoke to me so much. But she also has Hooked, Scarred, and Wretched. Hooked is obviously about Captain Hook. Scarred is about Scarred from Lion King, but in a human form, and being a royal still, and just seeing all of that happen. They're also dark romances, so they just really get me in every aspect of their plots. They're just everything. I love these so much. I don't really see a lot of people talking about the Never After series. I think the only person that I watched that I've seen is Alexa Ray. She just started reading them. But yeah, I definitely think these deserve a lot more hype. Plus, Emily is unfortunately ill, and she's going through chemo right now, and I just think it'd be super awesome if we could all just support her with her series. A book that is becoming a movie or TV show. Okay, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was another one of the first books I ever read. So good. I absolutely love this. This just follows Evelyn Hugo as she rises to stardom in the actor movie scene. It starts in the 1950s and ends in present time, I think. I'm gonna say this just doesn't fall into the same category for like the whole timeline thing. It's weird because it's the same author too. We've had an outfit change because of Spit Up, and it is so freaking cold here. Like, I don't think Colorado realizes it's literally June. As I was saying, it's kind of silly because I just said that I don't like books staged in a timeline or a different era than what we're currently in. And this is a Taylor Jenkins Reid book that is in a completely different era than what we know to be now in 2023. And I ate this up. Granted, I did read this last year and I read Malibu Rising this year, so taste could have just changed. However, I am really looking forward to this adaptation, and I just think there's a lot of different ways we could go with this that is just going to be perfect no matter what. This book just follows Evelyn's rise to stardom, and she also ends up being a part of the LGBTQ community, and just watching her come to grips with just the fact that she doesn't actually want any husbands at all. She wants her rival to start with, and then they become friends, and then it's like, oh, just read the book. It's super cute. A book that you reread the most. So I haven't reread any books quite yet, but the book I look forward to rereading in the future is definitely Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I just read this year, read this last month actually, and I didn't even get a chance to annotate it because I just kept turning the pages. It was so good. I literally love Elliot so freaking much. He is one of my top 10 book boyfriends so far. I was so smitten. Like, I was getting rizzed up by a fictional man. Like, I literally loved him and his love for Macy so freaking much. And it was just, it was so cute and just so perfect. And I honestly strive to be like her dad. Her dad was a single parent in this book, and she and Elliot just started becoming friends like when they were younger, and then it just follows them in a past timeline, and then when they're adults rekindling their romance again because they lost communication over something that happened that we're going to find out towards the end of the book, of course. And you're just trying to figure out what happened, why they stopped talking for 10 years, and when you see this beautiful like slow burn romance they had when they were younger, you're even more confused. But her dad was just so cool about it and just really in tune with his daughter's feelings, and I just strive to be that way and just not to, I don't know, panic whenever I notice Elijah's having like, you know, feelings for somebody. I know it was a book, but if you read it, you'll get what I'm saying. A book from my genre you don't typically read. I'm gonna do Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is a thriller slash, I mean, kind of a mystery because, I don't know, I would say it's kind of mystery once you read it, but this was one of the first like thrillers I ever read, and it was so good. I feel like a lot of people really love this book. You are following a couple as they go on to their anniversary trip, and they also have little letters scattered about because that's something that happens annually at every anniversary leading up to this 10th one. They have had, you know, just the normal growing pains of any marriage, then you kind of get the tea as they're referencing those like fights or those bumps in the road along the way. But this anniversary trip was won in a raffle by one of the spouses, so they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere and kind of discovering just exactly where they are, how they were to get here. There's like this ominous figure watching them. They're trying to figure out what is going on, and if it really was just like a happy mistake that they got put out here for their anniversary trip, or if there's something else going on. And I was just on the edge of my seat the whole entire time. I thought it was really good, and I look forward to reading more Alice Feeney books for sure. A book that deserves all the hype that it gets. Obviously I like all my books, I think they all deserve hype, but The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, so freaking good. This was another one I kind of did like some on and annotations in here because I was just, there were different points, it went in waves where I was just like eating up the story, and then I was like, oh, I can slow down for a second, mark this, that was really cute. And other times I just wanted to know what the next thing Rowan was gonna say, the next thing. This is a workplace romance, enemies to lovers type of thing. I wouldn't say quite so enemies, more so just an unlikely pair. So Rowan is one of 3 brothers. That there's 3 books: The Fine Print, Terms and Conditions, and The Final Offer. Their grandfather dies, and in his will he leaves each of the brothers a task to fulfill before they get their cut of his fortune from the Dreamland theme park that he is known for founding. And obviously they all want a slice of that, so they're trying to figure out how they're going to complete what he's asked. For Rowan is that he takes the slot as a temporary CEO and looks over the creative aspects of the parks, creates a new installment to the theme park that the board just absolutely loves, and then he secures his slot in the will. All that to say, Rowan used to be very creative, and then, you know, life just happened. He became very business oriented and very just cold. So when he's looking for a new creative to join the team, he runs into Zara, who submitted her application after she just got intoxicated to get rid of her nerves and submitted her proposal that unfortunately her ex-boyfriend stole from her a few years ago, which kind of dimmed her hopes and just dreams in becoming a creator for the theme park. But this time it gets accepted. Rowan adds her to the team, and then there is a romance and he starts to fall for her. I definitely say, in my opinion, this is a like male falls first too, in my opinion, or just that he shows it more. Obviously it's a dual POV, so we see both of them having attraction from the start, but I feel like he's the one that starts making the moves to show like this is a little bit more of boyfriend activities than friend or even, you know, boss for sure. So I really enjoyed this book. I think it deserves all the hype that it gets. I think the whole series does. I'm still in the middle of reading it, but I really love these books. Here's our stack so far for our recommendations. A book you usually recommend when asked to give a recommendation. I would say Verity by Colleen Hoover. I think that this is just such a twister of emotions, of just like you thinking you know what's happening and you definitely don't. I really enjoyed this book. Riley read this book, my husband, he loved it. And so I always recommend this because I think Colleen's books are just very interesting, like I've been saying. And I also think they're a really good size. They don't drag on for too long. They are very fast paced in my opinion. And I think especially this one keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole entire time. It's about a struggling author, Lowen. She is picked by a very big author, Verity, to come help finish her book because Verity has fallen ill and cannot write anymore. Jeremy, Verity's husband, hand selected her because he was looking for people who would be worthy of continuing Verity's legacy. And so she moves into their house to just be totally immersed in Verity's writing mindset, and then things start taking turns. Her and Jeremy start forming a relationship that is less than professional, and then some crazy thing starts happening where she thinks she is seeing the supposedly bedridden, unconscious, sickly Verity around the house, in her bedroom, leaving her notes, threats, locking her in rooms, etc, etc, etc. It is crazy. Or she has one son in this book who is also saying things that would lead her to believe that Verity is playing pretend, or she's going crazy. A book that has your favorite characters. This is such an easy decision. Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is the most immaculate found family I have ever read in a book, literally ever. I love Nathan's friend group. This is about Anastasia and Nathan, obviously a ice skater and hockey romance. She has a competitive, you know, streak going in the ice skating world, and her partner ends up getting hurt. So Nathan, who is the captain of the hockey team, is enlisted to help her get through this next competition because it is just the catalyst into professional skating for her. Nathan is picked to help her with this because he's accused of being the one that hurt her partner. So he is just picked to kind of own up to his mistakes and to be put as like a punishment, which turns out not be a punishment at all because he has been noticing Anastasia and is absolutely falling head over heels for her. He is the most immaculate, like, I don't know, but it comes to just being sweet. I absolutely love Nathan, and it's also very spicy. Do not let the front of the book. Nathan knows what he is doing, even though he is very sweet. He's not. He is very, very entertaining. Anyway, I absolutely love this book. The found fan, like I was saying, so good. I have never wanted a friend group to have books more than I did when I read this book. If Henry gets a book, I can't even talk. I couldn't even finish that statement because my brain just couldn't even. I need every single one of these males to have a book. Seriously, this is just, it was just so good, and it tackled some like serious topics too that I think the friend group as men, we don't see them being understanding, being helpful, just them kind of being like, oh, she's being a woman, she's being emotional, this is a little bit too much. I absolutely loved how these were tackled when it came to even the characters around her reacting and helping and things like that. It was just so good. I have never, ever, and probably will never love characters more than I did this found family. A book I wish I could live in, that is gonna be Twisted Games by Anna Huang. This means that I get to be a princess, not even a princess, but a queen of a country, and have Reese Larson. This is book 2 in the Twisted series. This is about Bridget. She was princess of I forgot how you say it. Anyway, she was a princess, but her brother is stepping down from becoming king because he fell in love with someone who isn't royal, and there is a rule: you cannot marry someone who is not of royal blood or in the like monarchy in general. So he is giving up his slot as the king and handing off to his sister, and she feels like it is just, you know, expected of her now to become queen, even though she is also falling in love with her new bodyguard, Reese Larson. And it's just like, I don't blame her. I would have figured out a way to be with him too. The way Reese is just the most badass man I have yet to read, and protects her and loves her so ferociously, if that's even like, if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. It is just so good. And like I said, being royal, literally all she does, I mean, she makes very important decisions, don't get me wrong, but then she literally just gets to wear all these pretty outfits and be Reese's one true love. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Okay, a book you thought you would hate but ended up loving. Say Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I did not think I was gonna like this book. I don't know why. I think it was just the fact that Miles was a pilot, and I don't know, something about the occupation was like throwing me off. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna really enjoy something. I thought it was more centered around that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. However, I was very wrong. This is a brother's best friend. It's kind of just like Miles is his best friend though, and he's really used to just being able to walk into the apartment, eat some snacks, use the TV, use the cable, all of that stuff, while the sister is living there because she has nowhere else to go besides her parents' house, and that's just a no for her. So she is living in his apartment while he is away, plus he has a spare bedroom for when he comes home from his flying. So they obviously end up having a romance, falling in love, and then I I really enjoyed the story from the perspective of Miles. Like, the twist that ended up happening in this book, because you're trying to figure out why Miles is just so adamant about not starting anything serious with, oh my gosh, what was her name? Tate? Yeah. Why Miles is just so adamant about not starting anything with her when you know they're falling in love. They start having a friends with benefits and just kind of like a no strings attached thing, and then it quickly becomes not capable to continue for both of them. But he is just like, no, I just can't be around you. Like, I just can't pursue anything with you. And you're just like, why is he ruining this? And when you find out as a mom, and just like, you'll figure it out when you read it, but it really got me good. A book that made me cry, If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. This literally ripped my heart out, stomped on it, put it through a blender, and then handed it back to me. It was incredible. I didn't know exactly what everyone was like getting really upset about when it came to this book, but when I got to the last like 60 pages or so, I would say, it hit me like a truck. This was so well set up to be like that, to lead you astray, for you to be like, this is just so freaking cute, such a beautiful story, what in the world could possibly go wrong? And then you find out. I really loved it, and it made me cry for literally 13 minutes, and I know that exact count because I was recording myself getting to that last part for a separate video, and yeah, destroyed me. A book you wish you could read for the first time, for this one, is going to be Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. It was just that good. Loved it so much. I've already ranted about it, so I'm not going to do it again, but yeah, I definitely read this again. This is going to be a reread for sure anyways, but I wish I could read it again for the first time. A book that can cure a book slump. It's going to be A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This was just a little YA book. I didn't think it was very long. The story, you were directly immersed into it, and this was a murder mystery. This was about Pip. She is doing her school paper on a murder that happened a few years ago with a male and a female who were in a relationship, and then the girl ended up dying, and the boyfriend was obviously the one that took the fall for it. However, Pip doesn't think that's exactly the truth, so she decides to write her paper on getting to the bottom of it, and enlists the help of the boyfriend's little brother Ravi to kind of help her. Well, she doesn't directly ask him, but she goes to him for like some questions, and then he's like, I'm gonna join you type of thing. There is a tiny little subplot of romance between the two of them. It was just super cute. I thought it was a really good story. It kept me turning the pages. A book I think everyone should read, Atomic Habits by James Clear. This really helped me figure out how to structure good habits for myself. I struggle with depression, so it is very pivotal in my day for me to have a, not a schedule, but just certain things that happen that will keep me in good spirits, that'll keep me just, you know, keeping it pushing basically. And this really helped me figure out how to retrain my mind and how to make solid positive habits into, you know, real life altering things. So I'm just not very good at sticking to a, like, if I say I'm gonna do something, obviously I do really want to do it, but it's like how to do it where I get very just like off course. And I just thought this book was really good. It was not a long read at all. I think I read this in like 2 days. But yeah, it was a really good little self-help book. A book that would make an amazing movie. Like I said, I don't really like adaptions that much, so I'm like, probably not a romance because I would take that too seriously of that being like really good. However, I'm gonna say Rock, Paper, Scissors would be a very interesting like horror thriller type of thing. I think for sure I would watch this, and I think it'd be super entertaining if done, you know, kind of to the book, but also there's room to kind of put in new things that would be just as entertaining. A book I wish everyone would give a shot, even if it's out of their comfort zone, The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This was a really good mystery book. This was about a woman who is a very popular criminal defense attorney, I think it was. She is just the one who's recommended to everyone. She's the top in their state, and her husband ends up having an affair and his mistress dies. So she takes his case. Beats me. She takes his case to try to help him out, and you just kind of follow the story figuring out what happened to this mistress, because even the husband woke up and she was dead. So it's like, what went on? Did he really do it, and is he lying and we just have like gaps in the story, or what? we're following it from a dual POV, so we are kind of getting it as it's told to us by the characters. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good mystery book, and the ending was kind of predictable, if I'm being honest, for me at least, but I think it was a really good read. And if thrillers are not really your thing, or like mystery, I would say if mystery is not really your thing, I think this would be a really good book to try out at least. And lastly, a book I will never forget. A book I will never forget, Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This was just what kickstarted me into really like real romance books that wasn't like YA or anything, and I'm just always gonna remember this. I'm always gonna love Alex more than anything in the world. I think the story was just really good. I really enjoyed this, and yeah, I just can't say enough about it. I really loved everything about this. The characters, the storyline, the twist, oh my god, the twist. It was so good, and I'm never going to stop recommending it. I'm never gonna stop reaching for it. Just love her. But that is the end of my book recommendation tag. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Let me know down below if you read any of these, if you want to read any of these. Follow my Bookstagram for daily content about just all my books, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.